everybody, to the Superhumanistic podcast, where we talk about all things health, wellness, and longevity. Thank you for joining us today. We are your hosts. I'm David.
I'm Jessica.
Make sure that you hit that follow button on this podcast so you never miss another episode. We put out one episode a week on Saturdays. Also, check us out on YouTube if you want to watch us instead of just listen to us. And also check us out on Instagram for additional content. Don't forget to share this podcast with someone that you love that is also on a health and wellness journey so they can also live a longer, healthier, happier life. Last week, we talked about dopamine detoxes. So if you want to learn more about how longevity is absolutely linked to working out and what you eat, but not only that, it's also linked to your nervous system and ways that you can help incorporating healthy habits when it comes to your nervous system. This week, we are going to be talking about metabolic health. So metabolic health is really going to be that new wealth because it's the silent epidemic that is actually shortening people's lives. So we're going to jump more into that.
So what if I told you that most people aren't dying from old age? They're actually dying from that metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah, and really when it comes to that, most of these people probably look normal when it comes to the outside and when it comes to the outside world and everyday life. But we're really talking about those internal silent drivers like heart disease or dementia, fatigue, also weight gain, which can show on the outside, but these are all kind of linked to that shorter lifespan.
So what is metabolic health exactly? Well, it's how efficiently our bodies are able to process glucose, use insulin, stores our and burns energy, and then manages inflammation. So you can be thin and you're metabolically unhealthy. You also can be muscular and metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah, so as we touched on earlier, it's not necessarily about the aesthetics. It's really going to be that internal stability. So physicians out there like Peter Attia really emphasize that metabolic dysfunction precedes most chronic disease by decades, actually.
So some of the warning signs that we can look out for if you're noticing maybe your metabolic health is low, would be elevated fasting glucose, high triglycerides, if we have low HDL, increased waist circumference, and energy crashes after meals. Those are all common early markers of having something wrong with our metabolism.
And the scary part with all of those that you mentioned is you can feel just fine while the disease is already kind of processing and underway and progressing. So researchers like David St. Clair talk about aging as a loss of biological information, and metabolic instability accelerates that loss.
So why metabolic health impacts our longevity? Insulin resistance actually increases. So there's cardiovascular risk, Alzheimer's risk here. Sometimes that's even called type 3 diabetes. And then systemic inflammation.
Yeah, if you're getting those glucose spikes daily, you are creating that oxidative stress daily and probably often throughout your day as well. And that oxidative stress is really going to damage a lot of your cells. So now we're going to jump into what's that metabolic reset. We'll give you some actionable steps and a framework here that you can utilize to really give yourself that reset and start living a healthier life internally as well as externally. And there's never too late to stop, because a lot of times you can also reverse these processes that have already begun in your life. So we talk about this all the time, lift heavy things. So super important to do that strength training at least 2 to 4 times per week. Just in regards to this, it improves the insulin sensitivity dramatically, but there's just so many other benefits when it comes to strength training at least a couple of times a week as you age, to keep your muscles strong, keep your bones strong, and burn fat. So we talk about this all the time in previous episodes as well that are more geared around that. So go back and listen to those if you want to learn more about strength training. Walk after your meals. So we talk about this as well very often. Always super important to get some sort of movement each and every day into your life. So even if it's just 10 minutes walk at some point in your evening, you're going to reduce those glucose spikes quite a bit. You also want to prioritize protein intake because protein intake stabilizes your blood sugar and then it improves or at least preserves your muscle mass as you age. And then super important is to reduce that liquid sugar. So cutting out those Cokes and sodas and pops, whatever you call it in your region. And also cutting out those juices to a certain extent. You know, there's some organic orange juice, if you drink it in moderation, can have some health benefits for you, but you don't want to overdo it because then you get that massive glucose load essentially. And then sleep, that's the super important one when it comes to resetting as well. Sleep deprivation really increases that insulin resistance.
Yeah. So metabolic health compounds over time. It's really about those tiny daily movements that will see those massive long-term benefits.
And if wealth gives you financial freedom, well, metabolic health is going to give you physical freedom. It really provides you with that energy, that clarity, that strength that you need each and every day. And basically, you're going to be able to live longer with that, but also live stronger as well.
So longevity is not about perfection. We always say that as well. We're not trying to be perfect here, as no one can be perfect. It is about the metabolic resilience.
All right. Well, that's what we had for you today. Make sure that you follow Superhumanistic so you never miss another episode, and check us out on YouTube and Instagram for additional content as well. And remember, you can just start small. You can lift, walk, get better sleep, and stabilize that blood sugar with those actionable items that we gave you earlier in the podcast. So go back and listen to those if you need to, write them down, and make sure that you share this episode with someone that you want around for decades. We'll see you next time.
Bye.